Hello students, I hope you guys are having a wonderful Wednesday. You guys are just a few days away from school being over. I bet you are extremely excited about that. I'm praying you get all your schoolwork done, that your grades only increase, because I know they can't decrease. But we're really excited today. We get to continue in our Names of God series. And today we get to study the name Father. And I love that because I feel like it's such a personal relationship between us and God. And we're going to really dive in to how we obtain that today. But that word Father in Hebrew is Ab, or in Greek is Pater. I probably just said both of those wrong, but it's okay. But we're actually going to look at two parts of Scripture today. We're going to look in Mark 14, 35 through 36, and then flip over to Romans 8, 14 through 17. Both are great parts of Scripture that we get to evaluate Jesus, how he looks at God as Father. And then Romans reveals a lot for us about how we can have the same relationship that Jesus had. So let's dive into Mark 14, 35 through 36. And it says, going a little further, and this was Jesus praying in the Garden of Gethsemane before he would be arrested and then soon afterwards crucified. He fell to the ground and prayed that if it was possible, the hour might pass from him. Abba, Father, he said, everything is possible for you. Take this cup from me, yet know what I will, but what you will. I think that's an amazing part of Scripture where Jesus is having an intimate time with his Father because he knows what's coming next. And he's saying, God, if it is in your will, can this be passed from me? If not, I will keep going. And I think that's just so, there's just a closeness between him. And we got to realize, we know Jesus is the Son of God, but for us to realize how close they are, that's just amazing within itself. God is a holy, perfect, blameless being who can't be around sin. And so for Jesus to be a perfect human, God in flesh, for him and God to have that relationship is just so unique. And I think what's even more unique is when we go to Romans 8, 14 through 17. And it says, for those who are led by the Spirit of God are the children of God. The Spirit you received does not make you slaves so that you will be in fear again. Rather, the Spirit you received brought about the adoption to sonship. By him we can cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit himself testifies with our spirit that we are God's children. And now if we are children, we are heirs, heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ. And indeed we share in his sufferings in order that we may also share in his glory. Because of what Jesus did on the cross, and because of his blood that makes us blameless and righteous before God, we are adopted into the family of God, where we can look at God in the same way and say, Father, Abba, Father, thank you. We have this intimate relationship that would never have been possible without Jesus in the first place. But I like that he even goes further. We're not just sons, we're heirs to the kingdom of heaven. And I just think that's so amazing. And this name of Father just reminds us of how we've been adopted into the family of God. So we always in these devotionals will answer two questions. So we'll answer the first. What does this name of God teach me about God? One, that he is a personal God. That yes, he is powerful. He's omniscient and omnipresent and all those big omni words that make us think of who God is. But he's also loving and caring and intentional and personal with those who love him. And so I think that's important to remember. God is, yes, he's a big, massive, powerful God. But at the same time, he's so intimate and personal with everyone. And then two, we need to remember, what does his name teach me about God? That what he made possible through his Son. Without Jesus, we would never be righteous. In the Old Testament, they had this sacrificial system where you would sacrifice animals and their blood would cover you, but it was never enough. There was never enough animals. And not only that, it talked about in the Old Testament within the minor prophets that their sacrifices weren't meaning much because their hearts weren't repentant. It was just an action to cover up their sin so that they could sin again. Their hearts weren't in it. And so when he sent his Son Jesus, he paid the price, that he was the ultimate sacrifice that covered us. And so for that, we are thankful. So what does this name of God teach us about us? Well, I think one is gratitude, that unless there was Jesus in the story, we would never be able to call God Father. And that's a hard pill to swallow, but Jesus made it possible for us to enter into the kingdom of heaven. And so to be grateful for that and thankful for that. And two, that we respect God. As God being our Father, there is a respect in that relationship. And so back in the Old Testament, or back in the time of Jesus, fathers were the head of the household. They raised their sons and daughters. They taught them how to live, and their children respected them for that. And as for us, when we read Scripture, we read Jesus' teaching, we read God's teaching in the Old Testament, Jesus' teaching in the New Testament. When we look at that, we must respect what he says and try to apply it to our lives and live it out. Christianity isn't a faith where we can pick and choose what we do. We respect God and we respect his son, Jesus, and what they taught, and live by what they taught, not by what we want to follow. So I hope you guys liked our devotional. It was really good today. I enjoy reading the scriptures that He Reads and She Reads Truth gave us to study and dive into. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.